Hello students, now we start with a next topic, that is a classification of fungi. Now till now in previous class we have studied about the different characteristic of classification, then the nutrition methods and reproductive methods, the cell wall structure, all these characteristics we have discussed. Now we are going to discuss about the classification in detail. Okay, so fungi are classified into four groups, that is a Phycomycetes, Ascomycetes, Basidiomycetes and Deuteromycetes. And in this Phycomycetes is later on divided into two types, that is Oomycetes and Zygomycetes. So we will study this Zygomycetes and Oomycetes in detail as well. Now in this slide, you should understand the question which they usually ask. They usually ask question from this, that what are the bases of classification, and basis of classification is first, that is a morphology of mycelium, that which type of morphology of mycelium is there, mode of spore formation, which type of spore they produce, what is the mechanism for that, and if they form a fruiting body, what is the terms for that fruiting body and what different type of fruiting bodies are formed. So if we deal with these three things, these are the basis of classification for whole this. So we will going to study these three things in all. Okay, and this is the NCERT statements, and they usually ask, so it is important topic. So please remember the basis of this classification. Okay, so now we start with the classification. Now kingdom fungi was classified into the Gymnomycota, in which slime mold and wall-less forms were initially was considered into them, but later on we have studied that we have kept it in a kingdom Protista, so we have studied this. So there is no talking about this one in this part, but in this part there is a Oomycota and Eumycota. In Oomycota, Phycomycetes come, and Phycomycetes are Oomycetes and Zygomycetes. Now we remember, Oomycetes are also known as aquatic or algal fungi, and Zygomycetes are also known as conjugation fungi. And these are lower fungi, so they have aseptate mycelium, they have aseptate hyphae. But when we talk about Eumycota, that is a true fungi, that is a higher true fungi, in which we will study Ascomycetes, Basidiomycetes and Deuteromycetes. Ascomycetes are known as sac fungi, Basidiomycetes are known as club fungi, and Deuteromycetes are known as fungi imperfecti. Okay, so these are the classification of fungi. Okay. Now, we deal with each class in detail. First, we start with the Oomycetes. Now, Oomycetes are also known as algal fungi. Now, Oomycetes is the only group out of all classes, it is the only group in which you will see that their cell wall contains cellulose, not chitin. Okay. Chitin is not there. They have what? Cellulose in their cell wall, and other glucans in many members. Okay. Now, so chitin is not there. They have a cellulosic cell wall, and other glucan derivatives are there in cell wall. Mycelium is cenocytic, means if you talk about their hyphae are multinucleated. Septa is absent, so they are aseptate, and due to aseptate they are multinucleate aseptate, and the term is used as cenocytic. Now then we should talk about reproduction. Asexual reproduction involves the formation of spore, that is containing sac or sporangia. In aquatic form, the sporangia produces which one? Zoospore. We have studied that these are the wall-less motile. Asexual spore means these spores are nothing but they can be uniflagellated or biflagellated, and these zoospore are produced within zoosporangia. So we have studied it as they are endogenously produced. Okay, and these are most common in case of algae, that also we have studied. Okay, so we remember this zoospore are the one of the important asexual spore or mitospore. Okay, they are a mitospore produced by the mitosis. Then zoospore generally have two laterally inserted flagella with the heterochondra. Generally have laterally inserted flagella. Laterally inserted means they are inserted sidewise, and these are anteriorly attached. Usually they can have both type, but majorly which are literally inserted. And there are two different type of flagella, so we call it as a heteroconflagellation, and in which one flagellum is smooth and that is whiplash, and the other is tinsel type. Now first, what do you mean by smooth flagella? If suppose there is a flagella, this is a smooth, but when it is tinsel type, on tinsel type flagella you will find some of the outgrowth like this, and this outgrowth are known as mastigonems or flemurs. They are known as flemurs or mastigonems. They are the outgrowth which is found in tinsel type of flagella, but not found in case of the whiplash type of flagella. So these are some of the characteristics of this lower fungi, that is the algal fungi. Now when we talk about sexual reproduction occur by a planogametic fusion or gametangial contact. Planogametic, so we remember planogametic fusion, that is the first type. In this there is a fusion of gametes, so we can call it as isogamy, anisogamy or oogamy. That different type can be found in case of this planogametic fusion. But when we talk about gametangial contact, in this what happens, in this there is a fusion, there is a contact, there is not a complete fusion, okay, there is just a contact, and in contact you will find the hyphae are there. This hyphae will develop some structure like this, and in this they have their own content. Suppose this is a plus, this is a male, this is a minus, this is a female. Now here that develop a tube, this male one will develop a tube, and that tube is known as fertilization tube. So through this what will happen, this male gamete will be transferred to female gamete, and in this female part there is a fusion of male gamete with the female gamete, and zygote will be formed. This zygote will produce spores, and that are asexual spores by meiosis. They are produced by asexual spore by the sexual spore by the meiosis. So here there is no complete fusion, just two gametangia. These are known as male gametangia. This is known as male gametangia, and this is known as female gametangia. And this male and female gametangia are coming in contact through the what? Which one? Particular specific tube, that is known as fertilization tube. So because of this, it is known as contact of gametangia and fusion is occurring, so it is termed as gametangial contact. It is a type of sexual reproduction, and it is type of plasmogamy. The product of sexual reproduction in site of meiosis is oospore. Now be remember, this zygote become thick walled, and with this zygote become thick walled, this zygote will be termed as oospore. Okay, means the ploidy of oospore is diploid. So we remember, oospore is a sexual spore and the ploidy is diploid. So we should understand some of the examples we should take. So in example, first example is a Phytophthora infestans. Phytophthora comes under a Oomycetes, and it causes a let blight of potato, occasionally of tomato as well as. Now blight means development of patches over this, and in 1845 to 1847 there was a great Irish famine in Ireland, means there was a large destruction of potato has happened because of this it is known as a late blight of potato. So first is Phytophthora infestans, that is a example of Oomycetes. Second example which we are going to consider, that is Albugo candida. Albugo candida, the another name for Cystophus candidus. So this Albugo candida and Cystophus candidus is an example of synonym. You know that synonym? Synonym means Synonym means one scientific name has given, but by mistake another new scientific name has given, then this too will be considered as scientific. And this cause a white rust of crucifer. So be remember, this is one of the important because this is given in NCRT, and they asked several times this that white rust of crucifers is caused by which fungi? It is Oomycetes fungi, and that is Cystophus candidus. And it is characterized by appearance of irregular white blisters, white patches on the leaves and the stem. Okay, so this is the sum of the particular term. There are some another Oomycetes algae like Pythium debrinum species there, that is also caused, that is example of which one? This Oomycetes. Okay, so Oomycetes. Now let's recollect what we have studied in Oomycetes. In Oomycetes we have studied that cell wall is not made up of chitin, cell wall is made up of cellulose and glucan derivative. They have asexual spore, that is a which one? That is a zoospore, and zoospore obviously it is a motile spore. Then we have studied sexual reproduction. In sexual reproduction we have studied what? A gametangial contact or gametic fusion or planogametic fusion. And we have studied a diploid structure, that is a oospore, which is an important one. That diploid oospore is a site of particularly meiosis. Okay, and we have studied some of the examples like that, like the Phytophthora and the Albocandida. Okay, so next we move to the another class of lower fungi, that is the Zygomycetes. And in Zygomycetes we are going to study that are known as conjugation fungi. Now it is a class of terrestrial fungi. First statement you should understand, it is a class of terrestrial fungi and are mostly saprotrophic, rarely parasitic. This is an important statement, mostly saprotrophic, rarely parasitic, and they are a conjugation fungi. Why they are known as conjugation fungi? We will deal with this. Hyperwall contains, as I said, chitin is absent in only Oomycetes, not in all. So all have chitin or fungal cellulose. Chitin is also known as fungal cellulose, and we have studied that it is a polymer of NAG. It is a polymer of NAG. The mycelium is sinusotic. Now when we talk about mycelium, in mycelium you will find a multinucleate condition, and multinucleate condition is due to the aseptic conditions that are absent, and this found in case of Oomycetes. Sinusotic multinucleate condition is found. Motile cell, zoospore and planogametes are absent. Be remember, zoospore are not found, and mitospores are non-motile in this, and these mitospores are known as sporangiospores. We have studied these are the non-motile spores which are produced endogenously in favorable condition. They are known as sporangiospores. We have studied they are produced in favorable condition, and in favorable condition they are produced endogenously. So these are the asexual spores which are produced in Zygomycetes. Now we should also talk about the sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction occurs through the gametangial copulation or conjugation. Because of it, Zygomycetes is also called a conjugation fungi. Why they are known as a conjugation fungi? Because sexual reproduction occurs through the gametangial copulation or conjugation. Now we should understand what do you mean by gametangial contact or gametangial conjugation or copulation. In this what happens? Two hyphae are there. These are multinucleated hyphae. This one is represented as plus, means male, one is represented minus as a female. So what happens now? These two undergo plasmogamy, and when they undergo plasmogamy, they completely fuse, and when they completely fuse, they develop another structure which have a multiple nucleus from the male and multiple nucleus from the female. Why this happen? Because they are fusing them, and in this fusion there is no particular fusion, they are fusing. Okay, so some nuclei of minus hyphae will come and some nuclei of plus hyphae will come, and they join and form this type of structure which is multinucleated. Now this multinucleated structure when form, this will form a zygote that is also multinucleated. Okay, and when the zygote undergo meiosis, it will produce a gamete. That gamete that is a spore. That spore are somewhat multinucleated. Okay, they have a multinucleated spores or gametes which are produced here. So be remember, now the zygote is known as zygospore. The zygote is known as zygospore. Okay, so Zygomycetes are conjugation fungi. Why? They are copulating, they are completely fusing, so they are known as conjugation fungi. Okay, the gametes are commonly multinucleated. You can see here, gametes are multinucleated. Why? Because such type of development is occurring. So they are known as they are cenogametes, as the term cenocytic is used for the multinucleate condition. Now we should understand some of the example. Rhizopus stolonifer, one of the simple and easiest example you should remember. It is known as black or bread mold. Then Mucor mucido, that is known as a dung mold or pin mold. Then Rhizopus and Mucor are the common saprotrophic fungi. They attack a variety of foodstuffs. So be remember, these are the saprotrophic fungi which are found in which one? Zygomycetes. Which one? Rhizopus and Mucor. These are the two important examples that you should remember. Okay, because usually you will find a question on this. Okay, so now this is up to the Zygomycetes. So we should recollect what we have studied in Zygomycetes. Zygomycetes is known as conjugation fungi. Why it is known as conjugation fungi? Because there is a fusion of what two hyphae and gametangial conjugation is occurring. Okay, then they have an asexual spore, that is a non-motile spore, that is a sporangiospore. They have a cell wall chitin is made up. They can have a cenogametes, and the example are Rhizopus and Mucor. So this is the thing which you should understand. They are tertiary branch of us. So I hope you have understood with this, okay, and I hope you are happy that you have understood this part to the Zygomycetes. Now, next we talk about the new concept, a new class, that is Ascomycetes. These Ascomycetes are known as sac fungi. Now, in Ascomycetes, if we call him a sac fungi, the mycelium consists of septate hyphae. The mycelium consists of septate hyphae. Means when we study their mycelium, they have a septa or cross walls, and due to presence of septa or cross wall, they become uninucleated. Okay, so first the mycelium consists of septate hyphae, but yeast are exception. Why? Because they are basically unicellular, they are single celled, so there cannot be a septa within them. They are saprophytic, decomposers, parasitic or coprophyceals, means grow on a fungus, on a dung. Septa possess central pore called a septal pore. They have a central pore or septal pore, and that allow a communication between or transport between the adjacent cell. So we remember, suppose these are the two, this is a hyphae and this is a septa. Then septa have a simple pore in this, okay, and this simple pore allow the cytoplasm transport between the adjacent cell but not nucleus, so it is known as simple pore septum. So we remember, they can ask a question, simple pore septum is found in, so it is found in Ascomycetes. The wall is made up of chitin. Yes, you know this. Motile structures do not occur in this life cycle. So we remember, motile structure are not found in the life cycle of Ascomycetes, and it was obviously not found in case of Zygomycetes we have studied as well. Majority of Ascomycetes, the common mode of asexual reproduction is a conidia. We have studied that conidia are non-motile exogenously produced spore. Yes, and they are thin-walled. Means they form in a favorable condition. So this and conidia are the most common spore in case of fungi. They are most common spore in case of fungi. So conidia is a type of asexual spore in case of Ascomycetes. Conidia are born on a branched or unbranched hyphae. They are born on the what? Branched or unbranched hyphae. And the unbranched hyphae, they are known as conidiophore. Means they develop on what? Some of the like structures, and over which this develop exogenously. So because of this, they are known as what? On a conidiophore. And the example, known important example are Aspergillus and Penicillium. These are the two important examples that you should remember. We will deal with several examples, but you should remember these two importantly. So in Ascomycetes, if we talk about sexual reproduction, in sexual reproduction, we have discussed about asexual reproduction, but we have not studied about sexual reproduction. So we talk about sexual reproduction. Okay. Now in sexual reproduction, what happens? They have a two hyphae. One is minus, one is plus. These two fuse and carry out plasmogamy. And when plasmogamy occurs, you will see this type of condition. This with two nucleus, it is known as dikaryophase. We call it as a dikaryophase or dikaryotic condition. Now this dikaryophase will develop a ascus. Two nucleus are moved here, and this is known as ascus. Now in this ascus, what will happen? Karyogamy will happen. Okay, and karyogamy will occur, then this will form a diploid structure within this. Okay, and this diploid structure undergo meiosis, then within ascus there is a formation of 4 ascospores. You can see these are nothing but a ascospore. These ascospore are produced endogenously. These are produced endogenously. Okay, so you can see there is a what? Plasmogamy, then dikaryophase, then karyogamy, then meiosis, and then what? Ascospores are produced. Now we should remember something in this part, that this dikaryophase is short-lived. First important statement is this dikaryophase is short-lived. And second thing, that ascospores are produced endogenously. So these are the two important statements that you should remember, because they ask usually in this in question. Okay, so this is how the life cycle of Ascomycetes go. So if we talk about this, the important things that we have seen here, okay, that we should mark here. So what two important things we have studied from the ascus life cycle? One is dikaryophase, that is short-lived, first thing. And second thing, ascospore. Ascospore is a sexual spore which is a haploid spore, and this is endogenously produced. It is endogenously produced. So these are the two important statements that you should remember. They are important with respect to exam. Okay, now we should talk about some of the examples. In examples we get first, that is edible Ascomycetes. So we remember these two examples, Amorels and Truffles are the edible Ascomycetes. Then we have take another example, that is a Claviceps purpura. When we talk about Claviceps purpura, it causes the ergot of rye. Now what happens, some of the spores they develop, and due to some of the sclerotia, some of the mass bodies of fungus spore will develop on this Claviceps purpura, on this rye. So that disease is known as ergot of rye. Now when a particular rye is infected with this species, and if eating of this infected cereals, it produce of ergotism. Now what happened in case of ergotism? This fungus produce one type of chemical that is known as ergotin. So if it is taken or eaten unknowingly, it causes an abortion, that is an expulsion of fetus. So if a pregnant lady eat this particular rye or any bajra infected with this Claviceps species, then the ergotin chemical will go enter within the body of a pregnant female. Now that causes a miscarriage. Okay. Now next, another important example apart from Clavicepus is a Neurospora crassa, which is known as pink bread mold. We remember this is the pink bread mold. Okay. Now it is often employed in experimental genetics. So use so many experiments now. As you know, in animals we have studied so many genetic experiments on the Drosophila. Same way in case of plant, where fungi initially was considered in plant. So with respect to that, in fungus, Neurospora is the species on which several experimental genetics experiments have been done. So it is known as a Drosophila of plant kingdom related to the animals. Another example is Ericyphae. Ericyphae fungus produce powdery mildew. So Ericyphae graminicola. Then penicillium. Now penicillium discovery was done by Alexander Fleming. Now penicillium chrysogenum is commonly used in producing antibiotic, then is the penicillin. But it was first discovered from the Penicillium notatum. We remember it was first discovered from the Penicillium notatum, but now it is commercially applicable from the Penicillium chrysogenum. Why? Because Penicillium chrysogenum is now able to produce a much amount. So fungus is employed in this Penicillium fungus are employed in ripening of cheese also, like Penicillium Roquefort, it produces a Roquefort cheese, and Penicillium camembert form a camembert cheese. Okay, so we remember penicillium, which is penicillium is a Ascomycetes fungus. Initial first discovery by Alexander Fleming was done, and he isolated this penicillin from which Penicillium notatum. But now we get a penicillium from where? Penicillium chrysogenum. Okay. Next, one more species is found, that is Aspergillus, which is known as weed of laboratory. Why? Because it various foodstuffs included butter and cheese are particularly contaminated, or they destroy this particular foodstuff. So because of this, it is known as weed of laboratory. It is also Ascomycetes. In Ascomycetes, you will use a brewing industry. Like there are some yeast which are used, Saccharomyces cerevisiae and Saccharomyces ellipsoides. Saccharomyces cerevisiae is used in production of beer. It is also involved in production of baking industry. So it is known as beer or baker yeast. But Saccharomyces ellipsoides is known as a wine yeast, and it is used in brewing industries. So Saccharomyces cerevisiae is also called as a brewer yeast. Okay, and next is Zibrella, that is a Zibrella fusicoroi, give a Zibrellin. Now might be you have studied or you will study a plant growth hormone and plant growth promoter is gibberellin. Okay, so we will talk about this gibberellin in detail. But now how gibberellin discovery was done, that you should understand, and what is Zibrella fusicoroi, that we should understand in detail. So if we try to understand Zibrella fusicoroi in detail, then Zibrella fusicoroi is a perfect or sexual stage of Fusarium moniliforme. This Fusarium moniliforme is a imperfect or asexual state, and it is placed in Deuteromycetes. Now we will study in Deuteromycetes that when any fungus who has an asexual or imperfect stage, if its sexual stage, that is like for Fusarium moniliforme, that is a Zibrella fusicoroi, if sexual stage or perfect stage get discovered, they are moved out of Deuteromycetes and placed in Asco or Basidiomycetes. Same way, initially Zibrella fusicoroi was termed as Fusarium moniliforme because its imperfect stage was only discovered, but later on its perfect or sexual stage was discovered and it moved out of Deuteromycetes and placed in Ascomycetes. So please remember, this is the important point. Okay. Next we talk about the Basidiomycetes. Basidiomycetes are known as club fungi. They are known as club fungi. They commonly known to form a Basidiomycetes, commonly form a Basidiomycetes are mushroom, bracket fungi, puffballs. Okay, they grow in soil, on logs, tree stumps, and in living plant bodies as parasite. Example: rust and smut. We will discuss about that. Their mycelium is branched and septate. They have a septate because they have a cross walls, and due to presence of septates, they are a multinucleate mycelium. Asexual spore are generally not found. Important statement which you will usually find in question. Okay, vegetative reproduction by fragmentation is common. That is also important statement. Okay, but asexual spore are not known. Okay, now in Basidiomycetes, the septum which is found here, that is of a type of dolipore septum, and dolipore septum is like this. It is a large somewhat. It is like this is a septum. This is a septum, but in septum there you can see this is a large pore. This is a large pore, and this large pore allow a cytoplasm as well as nucleus transport between this. So what happens? This is a large sized pore, so it is known as dolipore septum, which allow the transport of nucleus and cytoplasm both. Okay. Now, when we talk about sexual reproduction, sex organs are not absent. This is also important question. Usually they ask which fungus carry out sexual reproduction without formation of sex organ. Then it is nothing but a Basidiomycetes. The basidiospores are produced on the basidium, and these basidia are arranged in a fruiting body called a basidiocarp. Okay, so we should understand how they are particularly forming this basidium. So what happens in this also, they have a septate hyphae. Yes or no? They have a septate hyphae like this. One is plus, one is minus. When plasmogamy occurs, they fuse, and dikaryotic cell will be formed. Now this single dikaryotic cell will spread it in the nearby cell as L. So this is with the single cell with the single nucleus, so it is known as primary mycelium, but it has a two nucleus within the its cell, so it is known as secondary mycelium. Now this all dikaryotic cell, be remember, now this is a dikaryophage again, but this dikaryophase which is found here, that is long lived. Now this dikaryon will develop a basidium. And these two nucleus will move here. They will fuse with each other. So later on you will find formation of zygote. Now this zygote undergo meiosis, and produce basidiospore like this. These are the basidiospore which are produced exogenously over the basidium. So this is basidium. This is basidium, but these are basidiospore. Okay, so basidiospore are produced exogenously. They are haploid, and dikaryophase is long lived. So these are the two important statements that you should mark, that dikaryophase is long lived and basidiospore are produced exogenously over the basidium. Okay, I hope you got it. Now next we should talk about some of the example of Basidiomycetes. In this, smuts are included. So smuts produced thick walled black colored resting spores called as the smut spore, and the genus of smut is Ustilago. So please remember this much, that genus Ustilago is for smut disease and Ustilago is present in Basidiomycetes. If you know this much, then it is fine for an exam. Next are mushrooms. Mushrooms are example of common edible mushrooms, and these are Agaricus campestris and Agaricus bisporus. They are Agaricus campestris and Agaricus bisporus. And in mushroom might be you have seen such type of pod of mushroom in which this pilus, and this is the stalk, and they have some thread-like structure which are known as rhizomorphs. Okay, so please see this diagram which is given in NCERT. Okay, the labeling of this diagram is important with respect to NCERT. Next, some of the poisonous mushroom. The edible mushroom is Agaricus campestris, but there are some poisonous mushrooms. They are known as toadstools. They produce white spores, and some of the example of Caesar's mushroom, that is Amanita caesarea, which is used to poison a Roman emperor Caesar during the which one? World War II. In World War II they used this mushroom. So what they have killed? This is our mushroom used to poison Roman emperor. Okay. So this is a toadstool, which are a poisonous mushroom which belongs to the Basidiomycetes. Next term, more are the smart rust. We have studied smart ustulagogenous. Now this is a rust. Rust is characterized by a formation of rusty pustules of different color on the containing the spores on the plant bodies. Now this rusty have a two host. It has a complex. It is a heterogeneous. It has a heterogeneous life cycle. It has a two host. Primary host is wheat and secondary host is barberry. So this is the thing which is found in case of the what rust. So now you should remember a rust genus is Puccinia, and that is Puccinia graminis territory causes black rust. Puccinia glomerum or Puccinia strimostis form a yellow rust, and Puccia recommendata form a brown rust. Okay. Now next, hallucination Psilocybe maximana, that is also Basidiomycetes, which is known as second mushroom. It has a hallucinating properties like the LSD. Hallucination means you have a imagination, illusion like that the thing which are you are now that something has happened but you don't remember. Like this condition is occurring in case of hallucination. Then Armillaria is the largest fungi. Puffballs are there. The genus is Lycopodon. Bracket fungi, they are the shell fungi in which forms Epileptius will come. And predator fungi are Dactylaria and Arthropods. So please remember the genus of all this with respect to exam. No need to study in detail. In NCERT, as you will see, there are not too much example like as I have discussed. But this example in this genus you should remember, and you have an idea that this type of puffballs, hallucinogens all belong to this. Okay, so now this is up to the Basidiomycetes. So now we should compare the Basidiomycetes with the previous Ascomycetes. So in Ascomycetes there was a asexual reproduction by the conidia, sexual reproduction in which ascospore produced, the dikaryophase was short-lived, and ascospores are produced endogenously. But when we compare with the what Basidiomycetes, in Basidiomycetes asexual spore are not known. In sexual reproduction also dikaryophase is long-lived. And in these basidiospores are produced over basidium, means they are produced exogenously, not endogenously. Ascomycetes have a simple pore septum, whereas the Basidiomycetes have a dolly pore septum. So these are some of the characteristic features which compare them. And we should have a comparative analysis for all the four we have studied till now, and the fifth which we are going to study in the next group. So now we will study the last group or last class of fungus, that is the Deuteromycetes, which is known as Fungi Imperfecti. Now why it is known as Fungi Imperfecti? Because it is imperfect, because its asexual stage are known, sexual stage are not known. So it is simple, as we have discussed in gibberellin point. Commonly known as imperfect fungi, only asexual or vegetative phases are known. When the sexual forms of this fungi are discovered, they were moved out of classes and they rightly belong to them. It is possible that the asexual and vegetative stage have been given a one name and placed in Deuteromycetes, and sexual stage given another name and placed in another class like the Asco or Basidiomycetes. And when linkage get established, they are moved out of Deuteromycetes when sexual stage get discovered, and they are placed in Asco or Basidiomycetes according to their linkage. Deuteromycetes produce only asexual spore, that is conidia. As we have studied, asexual spore are not known in case of Basidiomycetes. In Asco it is conidia, in Deutero also it is conidia. And the mycelium is septate and branched. Again, these are septate. So you can remember that lower fungi, Oomycetes and Zygomycetes are aseptate. So they are multinucleated, but higher fungi like the Asco, Basidio and Deuteromycetes are a septate and they have a particular branch structure, and they are a septate, then they are a uninucleated. Okay, so this is with respect to the Deuteromycetes. Now we should talk about some points with respect to NCERT. Some members are saprophyte. Be remember, some members of Deuteromycetes are saprophytes. Now because of this we can call them as the dustbin fungi. The one name that is given to the Deuteromycetes, that is dustbin fungi. Why it is known as dustbin fungi? Because some members of saprophytes and parasites, and large number of them are a decomposer of litter and help in mineral cycling. This important statement, there are large number of them are decomposer of litter and help in mineral cycling. This point they directly ask in question, so remember this point. Examples include Alternaria solani, which cause early blight of potato. We have discussed late blight of potato in the first class, that is Oomycetes. Now we are talking about early blight of potato. Coletotrichum falcatum, that cause a red rot of sugarcane. On the sugarcane stem you will find a red big pustules that are known as red rot. And last one is a trichoderma. These are the easy examples, but please remember this all example, because in 12th class also you have to study these examples in detail. Okay, so that is a Deuteromycetes, and till now we have discussed all the classes from the Oomycetes to Zygomycetes to Basidiomycetes, Asco and Basidio, and then the Deutero.